The viewing screens flickered to life across 1,000 worlds. Billions of alien eyes watched as the human delegation walked through the golden archway of the Galactic Council chamber. Their footsteps echoed against marble floors that had witnessed 500 years of interstellar diplomacy. Ambassador Harris led the group, his face calm despite knowing what awaited them inside. The chamber itself was a monument to alien superiority. Crystalline pillars rose toward a domed ceiling that displayed the swirling galaxies beyond. 73 species occupied the tiered seating, arranged by their perceived importance in the galactic hierarchy. Humans had been granted the lowest tier, barely above the observation deck where journalists and scholars gathered. High Chancellor Dravin of the Dravian Concord raised 3 of his 4 arms. The murmuring ceased. His silver skin reflected the chamber's lights as he spoke with a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. We convene this emergency session to address the crimes of Earth and her colonial territories. The evidence presented to this council reveals systematic violations of the Treaty of First Contact, the Colonization Accords, and the Technology Sharing Agreement. Harris felt his jaw tighten but maintained his composure. Behind him, his team of 7 diplomats stood perfectly still. They had prepared for accusations, but the formal language suggested something far worse than a simple dispute. A holographic display materialized above the chamber floor. Images cycled through scenes of human settlements on distant worlds. Then came the fabricated evidence: weapons facilities that did not exist, unauthorized terraforming that had never occurred, cultural interference programs that were pure fiction. The human species, continued a Trilithian representative, her voice sharp and clicking, has demonstrated the exact barbarism we feared when we granted them council membership. They expand without permission. They build weapons in violation of treaty. They corrupt younger species with their dangerous philosophies of individual freedom and equality. The gallery erupted in coordinated outrage. Harris recognized the performance for what it was. The aliens had rehearsed this moment, timed their reactions, prepared their speeches. This was not a trial, it was theater. He stepped forward to the speaker's platform. The chamber's acoustics carried his voice to every corner without technological enhancement. Honored members of the council, these accusations are false. Earth has meticulously documented our compliance with every treaty clause. We have reports, recordings, and third-party verification of our activities. If the council would examine the actual evidence rather than these manufactured displays. Silence! Dravin's roar shook the chamber. The human speaks of evidence while his species poisons the galaxy with their presence. Your kind builds hospitals to make others dependent on your medicine. You establish schools to infect young minds with your values. You offer friendship to hide your true intentions of dominance. Harris realized the depth of their predicament. The council feared human influence not because humans were aggressive, but because they were appealing. Across the galaxy, younger species admired human culture, requested human teachers, sought human partnership. The established powers saw their control slipping away. We call for an immediate vote, announced the Trilithian representative. All human trading rights shall be revoked, all colonial permissions canceled, all cultural exchange programs terminated. The species of Earth will withdraw beyond their home system within 48 standard hours. The vote proceeded with brutal efficiency. 71 species voted in favor. Only 2 abstained, representatives of smaller worlds that had benefited from human assistance. None voted against. The message was clear and coordinated. Harris watched the voting display with an expression that revealed nothing. His mind, however, raced through implications and contingencies. 48 hours meant they expected chaos, panic, desperate negotiations. The council wanted to see humans beg. This council, he said slowly, each word carefully measured, has made its decision clear. Earth will comply with your demands. We will evacuate our people from every world, every station, every facility beyond Sol system." Draven leaned forward, satisfaction evident in his posture. "You accept these terms without protest, without appeal." "I accept that this council has spoken. I accept that the treaties we honored in good faith have been discarded. I accept that the galaxy has chosen to operate without human participation." Harris paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "What I do not accept is the fiction that we violated any agreement. History will remember who broke faith here today." He turned to his delegation. "Recall all personnel, initiate total withdrawal protocols, leave nothing behind." The human group walked from the chamber in perfect formation. Not a single diplomat looked back at the aliens, who had just humiliated their entire species before the watching galaxy. In the observation galleries, journalists rushed to file their reports. The consensus formed quickly. Humanity had been crushed, expelled, reduced to irrelevance. The great experiment of including Earth in galactic civilization had failed. But a few observers noticed details others missed. The humans had not begged. They had not argued or pleaded. They had accepted the verdict with disturbing calm, as if they had expected exactly this outcome. Harris reached his shuttle and activated his communication array. The message he sent was brief, encrypted, and addressed to Geneva. "Protocol confirmed. They burn the bridge. Execute Lazarus." On Earth, in a secured bunker beneath the Swiss mountains, Director Rodriguez received the message. She had been waiting for this moment since the day humanity first encountered alien civilization. Trust, but verify. Hope for peace, but prepare for betrayal. She opened the file marked with red security seals. Inside were contingency plans developed over decades by the finest strategic minds Earth could produce. Plans for the day when the galaxy showed its true nature. Rodriguez began issuing orders. Across human space, a choreographed response began to unfold. The aliens thought they had won a victory. They had no idea what they had actually started. Rodriguez stood before the curved windows of Global Defense Command, watching storm clouds gather over Lake Geneva. Behind her, 24 officers worked at holographic displays that showed the entire human presence across the galaxy. Every colony, every research station, every trading outpost appeared as a glowing point on the three-dimensional map. "Status report," she said without turning from the window. Colonel Barnes stepped forward, his tablet displaying real-time data. "All colonial governors have confirmed receipt of evacuation orders. Civilian response is remarkably calm. It seems most people expected something like this." Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. Humans had learned long ago not to fully trust alien promises. Every settlement beyond Earth had maintained emergency protocols, supply reserves, and evacuation procedures. The settlers had always known they might need to leave quickly. "What about the economic impact?" she asked. "Severe for them, minimal for us," replied Dr. Okonkwo, the chief economic analyst. "We designed our trade relationships to be useful but not dependent. We sold them goods and services they wanted but did not need for survival. Meanwhile, we made sure Earth could function independently." The truth was elegantly simple. While aliens had grown comfortable with human medical technology, agricultural innovations, and engineering solutions, humans had carefully maintained backup systems. Earth could survive without alien trade. The reverse was not true. Rodriguez walked to the central display and zoomed in on the Dravian home system. Intelligence reports scrolled across the screen. The Dravians operated the second-largest fleet in the galaxy, but their maintenance systems relied heavily on human-designed components. Their military academies used human training programs. Their newest warships incorporated human safety innovations. "They thought we were becoming dependent on them," Rodriguez said quietly. "They never realized they were becoming dependent on us." Barnes cleared his throat. Director, we have an encrypted message from Ambassador Harris. He reports that several council members seemed uncomfortable with the vote. Not all of them agreed with the expulsion. Noted but irrelevant. They still voted against us. They chose unity with our accusers over justice. Rodriguez pulled up another file, this one marked Protocol Lazarus. How long until full withdrawal completion? 36 hours. We are ahead of schedule. Excellent. Initiate Phase 2. All human technology currently on alien worlds is to be remotely disabled or destroyed. Medical equipment, agricultural systems, water purification plants, everything. If we built it, they do not keep it. A young lieutenant looked up from her station, concern visible on her face. Director, some of that equipment serves civilian populations. Hospitals, food production facilities, schools. Rodriguez met her gaze steadily. We offered those systems as gestures of friendship. They responded by calling us criminals and expelling us from the galaxy. If they want our help, they should have treated us with respect. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. Across alien space, critical systems would fail. People would suffer. But Rodriguez had learned a hard lesson from human history. Civilizations that allow themselves to be humiliated invite only more humiliation. Furthermore, she continued, any research data we shared with alien institutions is to be deleted from their databases. Patents, formulas, designs, everything. We kept copies. They get nothing. Orders flowed outward from Geneva at the speed of light. On 47 worlds, human technical teams began systematic dismantling operations. They worked with quiet efficiency, removing components, wiping databases, extracting proprietary technology from integrated systems. On the agricultural world of New Spring, human farmers had transformed barren valleys into productive farmland. The local Valerian population had prospered from the abundant harvests. Now, human technicians removed the climate control nodes, the soil treatment processors, and the irrigation management systems. The Valerians would not starve, but their easy prosperity was over. On the industrial hub of Forge Station, humans had designed and built 70% of the manufacturing infrastructure. Alien workers watched in confusion as human engineers methodically deactivated production lines, extracted control systems, and deleted operation protocols. The station would survive, but its output would drop to a fraction of current levels. In the medical research complex on Healer's Rest, human doctors had pioneered treatments for diseases affecting 12 different species. The aliens had celebrated these breakthroughs as proof of galactic cooperation. Now those same doctors packed their notes, secured their samples, and purged the medical databases. Let the Council find their own cures. Rodriguez watched the progress reports flowing across her screens. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this possibility, though she had hoped it would never come. Director, Barnes said, we are receiving requests from some alien facilities asking us to reconsider. They are offering significant payments if we will leave certain systems operational. Denied, all of them. We are not a species that can be bought or bullied. Rodriguez pulled up the communication interface. Prepare a broadcast to all human settlements. I want every person beyond Earth to hear this directly from me. Minutes later, her face appeared on screens across human space. She spoke without notes, her words carrying the weight of humanity's collective anger and determination. All humans serving beyond our home system. Today, the Galactic Council chose to believe lies about our species. They accused us of crimes we did not commit. They expelled us from the community we helped build. This insult will not be forgotten, but neither will it break us. You are ordered to withdraw with dignity and pride. Take everything we created. Leave nothing of value behind. Show the galaxy what they are losing. And know that Earth will be here, strong and independent when you return home. The response was immediate. Across the galaxy, humans began moving with purpose and unity that alarmed alien observers. There was no panic, no protest, no desperate appeals, just cold, professional execution of withdrawal procedures. On Earth, Rodriguez closed the communication channel and returned to her window. The storm had passed. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting brilliant reflections on the lake below. "They wanted us gone," she whispered to herself. "Let them see what absence truly means." Merchant Talon checked his inventory displays for the third time that morning. The numbers had not changed, but he kept hoping he had made an error. Across his warehouse, human-made goods filled 70% of the storage space. Medical scanners, agricultural processors, entertainment devices, educational software, all of it purchased through legitimate trade agreements that no longer existed. His business partner, an elderly Rilvan named Porsche, shuffled through the aisles between cargo containers. "The buyers are canceling their orders," Porsche said, his voice heavy with resignation. "They say human products will no longer be supported or updated. No replacement parts, no technical assistance, no software upgrades." Talon felt his stomach twist. He had invested his family's wealth into this trading company because human goods were reliable, affordable, and superior to anything else on the market. Now those same products were becoming worthless overnight. "What about the contracts?" he asked desperately. "We have legal agreements for the next 5 years." Porsche made a sound that might have been laughter or crying. "The Council voided all human contracts when they expelled Earth from the galaxy. We have no legal recourse. Our savings are gone." Across the Trilithian home world, similar scenes played out in thousands of businesses. The economic disruption spread like ripples in water, touching every sector that had integrated human innovation into their operations. In a military academy on Drav Prime, young Officer Krell sat in a classroom that had gone silent. The instructor stood at the front, staring at blank displays where training simulations should have appeared. The entire curriculum had been designed by human military advisors, programs that taught modern tactical thinking and ethical command principles. "Class dismissed," the instructor said quietly, "until further notice." Krell walked through corridors filled with confused cadets. He had joined the military to serve his people, believing in the honor and justice his civilization supposedly represented. But he remembered the broadcast from the council chamber. He had watched human ambassador Harris accept expulsion with quiet dignity while Dravian leaders celebrated their humiliation. Something about that scene had troubled Krell. The humans had not looked defeated. They had looked prepared. His suspicions were confirmed when he reached the fleet maintenance hangar. Senior officers argued in hushed tones while technicians examined inoperative systems. The new destroyer-class ships, pride of the Dravian fleet, were experiencing cascade failures. Safety protocols, environmental controls, navigation assists, all designed by human engineers, all now disabled. "Can we fix them?" one admiral demanded. The chief engineer spread his hands helplessly. "We relied on human expertise. Our people learned to operate the systems but not to build them from scratch. It will take years to develop equivalent technology on our own." In the medical district of Triles Central, Dr. Shauna faced a crisis that made her hands shake. The synthesis machine that produced antiviral compounds had stopped working. Not broken, just disabled. The humans who had installed it 3 years ago had apparently included remote shutdown capability. She pulled up patient records. 400 people across the planet currently depended on treatments produced by this machine. Without it, they would experience painful regression of symptoms. Not death, not immediately, but suffering that could have been prevented. Shauna remembered the human medical team that had brought this technology to her world. They had been generous with their knowledge, patient with questions, humble about their achievements. They had called the Trilithians friends and partners, and her government had repaid that friendship with false accusations and expulsion. She composed a message to the Council Medical Oversight Committee, detailing the crisis and demanding action. The response came swiftly: adapt existing technology or learn to manufacture human designs independently. No exceptions would be made. On the neutral observation station known as the Void Eye, analysts for the collective gathered to review the unfolding situation. The collective made no judgments about galactic politics, simply observed and recorded for historical purposes. Lead analyst Morvek displayed economic projections on the central screen. Galactic trade volume has decreased by 41% in 72 hours. Stock markets across 17 major systems have crashed. Resource extraction efficiency is down 30% across the board. What is causing such dramatic impact? Asked a junior observer. Humans represent only 3% of galactic population. Morvek adjusted the display to show network maps. Population percentage is irrelevant. Look at the integration patterns. Humans position themselves at critical junctions in supply chains, information networks, and technical infrastructure. They were not the largest presence but the most connected one. The network maps told a story of careful strategy. Humans had not tried to dominate any single sector. Instead, they had made themselves useful everywhere, building relationships and trust across multiple industries and species. Now, removing them created gaps that disrupted entire systems. Recommendation, the collective director asked. Continued observation. This situation may reshape galactic power structures. The council members who engineered human expulsion appear to have miscalculated severely. Indeed, on the council homeworlds, emergency sessions were already being called. Not to reverse their decision, pride would not allow that, but to address the growing crisis. High Chancellor Dravin faced his own strategic council behind closed doors. How long until we restore full operational capability without human involvement? His chief scientist delivered the unwelcome truth. Minimum 5 years for basic restoration, 10 to 15 years to match current capability, 20 or more to develop equivalent innovation capacity. Unacceptable, Dravin growled. We are the second most powerful civilization in the galaxy. We were, the scientist corrected gently. We were powerful because we integrated the best technology from multiple sources, including human designs. Without that integration, we are merely large. In the public squares of a dozen worlds, protests began. Not against the council's decision, the propaganda machines had done their work well there, but against the consequences. Citizens who had grown comfortable with human conveniences now faced their absence. They did not understand the politics, but they understood empty store shelves and disabled medical equipment. On a small agricultural world called Haven's Rest, Farmer Gylish looked at his failing irrigation system and made a decision that would have seemed impossible a week earlier. He composed a message, encrypted it carefully, and sent it towards Saul's system. To any humans who remember Haven's Rest, we were told you were criminals. We do not believe this. We need help. Please respond. The message traveled through the dark between stars, one of hundreds like it, all asking the same question. Would the humans they had wronged be willing to help those who never wanted them gone? On Earth, Rodriguez saw these messages accumulating in her inbox. She read each one, then filed them away without response. Let the galaxy learn what it meant to stand alone. The evacuation convoy from New Spring Colony stretched across 300 kilometers of space. 217 transport ships carried 15,000 humans and everything they could pack from 7 years of settlement. Governor Walsh stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, watching her former home shrink in the rear displays. Below them, Valerian families gathered in the fields that humans had made fertile. They waved cloths and banners, some bearing messages of apology, others of farewell. Walsh felt a tightness in her chest but kept her expression neutral. The Valerian government had supported the council's decision. Individual regrets changed nothing. "Governor, we have a request from the Valerian agricultural minister," her communications officer reported. "He is asking if we can leave the irrigation control systems operational. He offers significant payment." Walsh's response was immediate. "Denied. We take everything we built or we destroy it. No exceptions." She moved to the engineering station where Chief Hammond monitored the demolition sequence. On his screen, human-built structures across New Spring were being systematically disabled. Greenhouses, processing plants, climate control towers, all rendered inoperative by remote commands. "They are begging us to reconsider," Hammond said quietly. "Some of them are crying." "They should have thought of that before they let the council brand us as criminals," Walsh replied. She activated the colony-wide channel. "All personnel, this is Governor Walsh. Execute final withdrawal protocol. Leave nothing functional behind." Throughout the galaxy, similar scenes repeated. On research stations, in manufacturing facilities, across educational institutions, humans packed their knowledge and deleted their contributions. They worked with mechanical precision, showing neither anger nor satisfaction, just professional thoroughness. Ambassador Harris arrived at the council chamber for the final time. The session was poorly attended. Only 40 of the 73 member species had bothered to send representatives. The rest were dealing with crises on their home worlds. High Chancellor Draven looked diminished in his elevated seat. The arrogance from a week earlier had been replaced by something harder to define. Not quite regret, but certainly discomfort. "Ambassador Harris," Draven began, his voice lacking its former thunder, "we acknowledge your compliance with the withdrawal order. Your efficiency has been noted." Harris stood at the speaker's platform, a physical document in his hands. "I come before this council one final time not to plead or negotiate, but to ensure clarity for the historical record." He held up the document. It was printed on actual paper, an ancient human custom that seemed to confuse the aliens present. "This is a copy of the Treaty of First Contact, signed by Earth and the Galactic Council 112 years ago. In it, humanity agreed to 37 specific restrictions on our expansion, technology development, and cultural activities. We followed every single clause." Harris produced another document. "This is the Colonization Accords with its 92 regulatory requirements. We complied with all of them. We kept detailed records. We submitted to inspections. We operated in absolute good faith." He walked forward and placed both documents on the council floor. "You accused us of violations we did not commit. You fabricated evidence. You humiliated us before the watching galaxy. And when we accepted your verdict without protest, you seemed surprised." Draven shifted uncomfortably. "The council acted on the information available." "The council acted on lies you knew were lies," Harris said flatly. "Your intelligence services are not incompetent. You knew the truth. You simply feared what humanity represented. Not our weapons or our expansion, but our ideas. You saw younger species admiring human values of equality and individual dignity, and you panicked." He pulled a small lighter from his pocket, an antique device that used actual flame. Several aliens gasped as he ignited it. "You wanted to burn the bridge between our civilizations. Very well." Harris touched the flame to the Treaty of First Contact. The paper caught immediately, burning with surprising speed. He let it fall to the marble floor where it curled into ash. "I declare these treaties void, not by your authority but by your betrayal. You have no claim to human cooperation, human innovation, or human friendship. We owe you nothing." The colonization accords met the same fate. Harris watched them burn completely before speaking again. "When you realize what you have lost, and you will, do not expect us to return simply because you ask. We tried peace. We tried partnership. You chose insult. Now you will learn to live with that choice." He turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, the ashes of 2 treaties scattered across the council floor like gray snow. "Wait," called a Trilithian representative. "Surely we can discuss reasonable terms for continued cooperation. The galaxy benefits from human participation." Harris stopped but did not turn around. "The galaxy had human participation. You threw it away. Consider us ghosts now. We will not haunt you, but neither will we return to this place of dishonor." His footsteps echoed as he left the chamber. The last human departure from the Galactic Council was witnessed by 40 alien representatives and broadcast to a watching galaxy. Unlike the triumphant expulsion a week earlier, this exit carried weight and finality. Harris reached his shuttle, the last human vessel docked at Unity 7 station. His small staff waited inside, faces tense but proud. They had endured insults, threats, and humiliation over the past days. Now they were going home. "All personnel accounted for," reported his aide. "We are the last humans in alien space." "Then let us depart with dignity." Harris settled into his seat and activated the communication array. "This is Ambassador David Harris to all human vessels. Withdrawal complete. Set course for Sol system. We are going home." The vast fleet of human ships began their synchronized departure. Thousands of vessels, from massive colony transports to small research shuttles, all turning toward the distant star that had birthed their species. On alien worlds, people watched them go, some with relief, others with growing unease. The humans were leaving exactly as ordered, but something felt wrong about the silence of their departure. No protests, no threats, no demands, just quiet, complete withdrawal. In the council chamber, Draven stared at the ash on the floor. A cleaning robot approached to remove it, but he waved it away. "Let it remain. Let every council member who entered this chamber see the physical evidence of what they had burned." His intelligence chief approached with a report. "Chancellor, we have intercepted communications between several smaller species. They are discussing forming a coalition separate from council authority." Draven felt a chill despite the chamber's warmth. "Which species?" "Those who worked most closely with humans. They are calling the council's actions unjust." The intelligence chief paused. "Chancellor, we may have a larger problem than we anticipated." "Explain." "The humans left. They did not fight. They did not resist. They simply removed themselves from our civilization completely and efficiently." The intelligence chief displayed economic data. "Our projections suggest severe long-term consequences. We did not just expel a member species. We excised a vital organ from the galactic body." Draven looked again at the ashes on his floor. He had won his victory. Why did it feel so much like defeat? 3 months after the expulsion, Dr. Shauna faced a reality that statistics alone could not capture. Her hospital had treated 800 patients in the week before humans withdrew. Now, they managed barely 200. Not because fewer people were sick, but because they could no longer treat many conditions effectively. She stood in the empty wing where the advanced surgery equipment had been. The humans had not destroyed it maliciously. They had simply removed the components they had designed, leaving behind expensive shells that did nothing. Local manufacturers were attempting to build replacements, but the quality was poor and the costs astronomical. "Doctor, we have another outbreak in the Eastern District," her assistant reported. "The fever that human antivirals used to treat easily. Without the medication, it spreads faster." Shauna closed her eyes. People were not dying in massive numbers, but suffering had increased dramatically. Elderly patients who had enjoyed active lives now struggled with conditions that human medicine had managed. Children with genetic disorders faced reduced treatment options. The sick endured longer, harder recoveries. "Contact the council medical office again," she said, though she already knew the response. "Request emergency assistance." The response came swiftly, as it always did: adapt or innovate. The council had no solutions to offer. On Drav Prime, Officer Krell attended a briefing that confirmed his worst suspicions. The military academy had closed 3 departments entirely. Fleet readiness had dropped from 93% to 61%. Training accidents had increased because safety systems no longer functioned properly. The admiral delivering the briefing looked like he had aged 10 years in 3 months. We are consolidating forces and reducing operational deployments. Until we can rebuild our technical capabilities, the fleet cannot maintain its previous scope. A senior officer raised his hand. What about the border disputes with the Kelvin Union? We need full fleet strength to maintain deterrence. The Kelvins are experiencing similar difficulties. Apparently, they also relied heavily on human technology. Everyone did. The admiral paused. Intelligence suggests that several minor conflicts across the galaxy have intensified because major powers can no longer project force effectively. Krell felt anger rising in his chest, but not at humans. They had offered their knowledge freely, asked nothing but fair trade and respect in return. His own government had rewarded that generosity with false accusations and expulsion. Now Dravian citizens suffered the consequences. In the merchant districts of Treaties, Talon liquidated his business at devastating losses. The warehouse full of human goods had sold for 20% of their original value, purchased by speculators hoping humans might eventually return. His family's 3-generation trading company was bankrupt. Porsche helped him pack the final boxes from the office they had shared for 15 years. "What will you do now?" the old Rilvan asked. Talon looked around the empty room. "I have been offered a position with a coalition forming among smaller species. They are calling themselves the Independent Systems Alliance. Their goal is to establish contact with Earth outside of Council authority." "That is treason against the Council." "The Council committed treason against decency when they expelled humanity based on lies." Talon picked up the last box. "I was there, Porsche. I watched the broadcast. The human ambassador did not look like a criminal. He looked like someone who had been betrayed." Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Species that had prospered from human cooperation were quietly organizing, not in open rebellion against the Council, but in passive resistance. They stopped attending Council sessions. They withheld their traditional contributions to Council operations. They began exploring ways to contact Earth independently. On Unity 7 Station, High Chancellor Draven convened an emergency session with only the Council's core leadership. The chamber that had once held 73 species now hosted fewer than 20. The others had simply stopped participating. "The financial reports are catastrophic," reported the Trilithian economic minister. "Galactic trade volume is down 67%. Technology development has stalled across multiple sectors. Medical advancement has reversed a decade, and now we face political fragmentation." Draven felt the weight of his decisions pressing down on him. "Recommendations." "We could attempt to contact Earth directly," suggested a junior counselor. "Negotiate their return under modified terms." The Trilithian representative clicked her mandibles sharply. "Impossible. We would lose all credibility. We cannot admit error so publicly." "Then what do you suggest?" Draven demanded. "We watch our civilization decline while humans prosper in isolation." Indeed, intelligence reports from Sol System painted a troubling picture. Far from suffering, humanity appeared to be thriving. Without the burden of Council regulations and the drain of supporting alien economies, Earth had entered a golden age of development. Human colonies within Sol System were expanding rapidly. Mars had become fully self-sufficient. The asteroid belt hosted growing industrial operations. Jupiter's moons were being terraformed using techniques humans had not shared with the galaxy. And most disturbing of all, human technology was advancing at an unprecedented rate. "They are not struggling," Draven said quietly, reading the latest intelligence summary. "They are flourishing. We thought cutting them off would weaken them. Instead, we freed them from us." His intelligence chief nodded grimly. Without council bureaucracy slowing their decisions, without the requirement to share innovations broadly, and without the economic burden of propping up less developed species, humans are advancing faster than ever. Our projections suggest they will achieve breakthrough capabilities in multiple fields within 5 years. What kind of breakthroughs? Faster-than-light travel improvements, advanced defensive systems, possibly autonomous production capacity that would make them completely independent of external trade. Draven understood the implication. The galaxy had not expelled a minor troublesome species. They had expelled a rising superpower and forced it into isolation where it could develop without constraint or observation. Meanwhile, on Haven's Rest, Farmer Gylish received a response to the message he had sent months earlier. It was brief and came not from Earth but from the newly forming Independent Systems Alliance. "Humans are aware of your message. They appreciate your friendship but cannot respond while Council prohibitions remain in effect. We are working to change this. Stand firm." Gylish shared the message with his neighbors. They had faced difficult months without human agricultural technology, but they had managed. More importantly, they had learned who their true friends had been. Across the galaxy, the Council's authority was crumbling not through war or revolution, but through simple loss of legitimacy. The species who had relied on human partnership were discovering they had more in common with each other than with the Council powers who had engineered humanity's expulsion. And on Earth, Director Rodriguez watched it all unfold exactly as she had anticipated. She had studied human history carefully. Empires fell not when they were destroyed by enemies, but when they destroyed themselves through arrogance and miscalculation. The Galactic Council had made its choice. Now it would live with the consequences. 1 year after the expulsion, Ambassador Harris stood at the edge of Earth's orbital defense grid and marveled at what humanity had built. Massive platforms bristled with defensive systems. Automated factories churned out ships and equipment. Energy collectors harvested solar radiation at unprecedented efficiency. Sol's system had become a fortress, but more than that, it had become a beacon. Director Rodriguez joined him at the observation deck. Below them, Earth gleamed blue and green, more beautiful than ever. Above them, the stars waited. "The Independent Systems Alliance has formally requested a meeting," Rodriguez said. 43 species have broken from the Council completely. Another 67 maintain nominal Council membership, but refuse to participate in governance. The Council controls perhaps 30 systems now, down from over 200. Harris watched a construction platform assemble a new exploration vessel. Have the Council leadership attempted contact? 17 times, each message more desperate than the last. They want to negotiate our return. They use words like partnership and mutual benefit. Rodriguez smiled without humor. They still refuse to admit they lied about us. Then they have learned nothing. Harris turned from the window. What is your recommendation regarding the alliance? We meet with them, not as supplicants seeking readmission to galactic society, but as an independent power considering proposals from interested parties. The meeting took place on a neutral station constructed specifically for this purpose. The Alliance representatives arrived first, 43 species, representing civilizations that had chosen principle over political convenience. Merchant Talon led the delegation, his business failure having transformed him into an unlikely political leader. Dr. Shauna attended as medical representative. Officer Krell represented a faction of Dravian military personnel who had refused orders to suppress pro-human sentiment. When Director Rodriguez entered with her team, the Alliance representative stood in a gesture of respect. She noted the symbolism carefully. These aliens were not approaching humans as superiors granting favors, but as equals seeking cooperation. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting," Talon began. "We represent civilizations that recognize the injustice committed against humanity. We do not come to apologize for the Council as we oppose their actions, but to propose a different path forward." Rodriguez took her seat at the circular table designed to have no head position. "We are listening." Dr. Shauna spoke next, her voice carrying the weight of personal experience. "Our worlds suffer without human partnership, but more than that, we suffer from being part of a system that rewards dishonesty and punishes integrity. We seek to build something better." "And what do you imagine this better system looks like?" Rodriguez asked. Krell leaned forward. "No hierarchy of species. No council claiming authority over sovereign worlds. Instead, voluntary cooperation between equals. Free trade, mutual defense, shared research, but no civilization dictating terms to others." Harris studied their faces, reading genuine conviction. These were not diplomats following scripts. They were people who had watched friends betrayed and decided to stand for something better. "You understand," Rodriguez said carefully, "that humanity will not simply forgive and forget. We will not return to the old system under new management. We require fundamental change, backed by action, not just words." Talon nodded. "We anticipated this. We proposed the Accords of Dawn, a new framework for interstellar cooperation. We have brought draft documents for your review." The proposals were comprehensive and revolutionary. No central government. No species granted special status. Disputes resolved through arbitration, not power politics. Technology sharing encouraged but never mandated. Cultural exchange celebrated without forced assimilation. Rodriguez and her team spent hours reviewing the documents, asking hard questions, probing for hidden clauses or escape provisions. But the Alliance representatives had done their work well. The Accords were exactly what they claimed to be, a complete break from the old order. This would effectively end the Galactic Council as a governing body, Harris observed. "The Council ended itself when it chose politics over justice," Krell replied. "We are simply acknowledging reality and building something better from the remains." Rodriguez made her decision. Earth will participate in this alliance under one condition. The old treaties, the ones burned on the council floor, they remain void. These new accords start fresh, with no obligations carried over from the previous system. We are not resuming old relationships. We are forming new ones. "Agreed," Talon said immediately. "The past is finished. We look only forward." The signing ceremony happened at dawn, timed so that Earth's sunrise would provide natural light through the station's windows. Representatives from 43 Alliance species and the human delegation stood together as equals. Rodriguez signed first, her signature marking humanity's return to galactic civilization on their own terms. Then came Talon, Shauna, Krell, and dozens of others. Each signature represented a civilization choosing cooperation over domination. When the final signature was placed, Harris looked around the room at faces representing dozens of species. "We call these the Accords of Dawn," he said, "because they represent a new beginning. The galaxy tried to shame us. They burned our treaties, but from those ashes we build something stronger." On Earth, news of the Alliance spread across every city and settlement. People celebrated not because they had won a victory, but because they had maintained their dignity through crisis and emerged stronger. In the old council chamber, now nearly empty, High Chancellor Draven read reports of the Alliance formation with growing despair. The council had fragmented. Their authority existed only in name, and humanity, the species they had tried to diminish, had become the cornerstone of a new galactic order. His intelligence chief delivered the final blow. "Chancellor, the remaining council species are requesting emergency sessions to discuss potential membership in the Alliance. We are being abandoned by our own members." Draven looked at the empty seats around him. Pride had cost him everything. The council had wanted to humble humanity. Instead, they had humbled themselves. Far from Earth, Governor Walsh stood on the bridge of a new colony ship. The Alliance had opened vast territories for settlement, areas the old council had restricted for political reasons. Humanity was expanding again, but this time as respected partners rather than probationary members. She looked at her crew, humans and aliens working side by side with genuine mutual respect. This was what the galaxy should have been from the beginning. "Course laid in for New Dawn Colony," her navigator reported. "We will arrive in 3 weeks." Walsh smiled. "Take us forward, the future is waiting." Behind them, Earth's sun rose on a civilization that had faced humiliation and emerged with honor intact. The treaties were burned. The shame belonged to those who had tried to inflict it, and humanity sailed toward dawn with allies who understood that respect was not given by councils but earned through character. The galaxy had tried to write humanity out of its story. Instead, humanity had begun writing a better story altogether.